he's doing better in the eyes of Americans. I mean, it's interesting, of course, it's all in the interpretation, isn't it, these approval ratings, because Fox News says that Trump is on a record high, which means that his approval ratings are the highest that he's ever had.
Thanks for being with us. Now, what timing? President Donald Trump speaking right now, only an hour late from schedule today, but he is announcing the dismantling of the US Education Department, which was one of his campaign promises. The move is already facing legal challenges from those who seek to block the closure, as well as the sweeping cuts to its staff, which were announced last week. Here is Donald Trump speaking in the last few minutes.
But we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs. And this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work. And Democrats and others that we have employed we're going to love and cherish our teachers along with our children, and they're going to work with the parents, and they're going to work with everybody else, and it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, and it's really going to be something special. And
that is Donald Trump speaking. I'm just having a little look at him now. He's making this announcement. Well, you can probably add some sense to this, Harriet. He appears to be, well, he's in the White House, and he was at his podium. He's now sat down at his podium, and he's surrounded by lots of young children at school desks who appear to be alongside him signing the same executive order. So each child is signing. This is what it looks like to me. Each child is signing the same executive order as Donald Trump, I think, unless there are so many executive orders, they're all different. Do you know what's going on here?
I mean, this is just ever the showman, right? I mean, this is Donald Trump doing his reality TV White House. This is a helpful prop, I suppose, to show what he intends to do. He's spoken about the need to reform the education system. He talked about America's failing education system and how they've got very low results in maths and reading, and he's going to turn it around. Interesting that he keeps on talking about how he's going to eliminate the Department of Education, but actually his press secretary said a few hours ago, no, we're not totally eliminating it. It will still be there, but it's just going to be much slimmed down. So a lot of smoke and mirrors here.
It's kind of got shades of North Korea to it, though, hasn't it? The fact that he's basically dismantling the Department of Education and getting young children to sign off faux executive orders doing the same thing is a bit weird, is it not?
It's strange, Kate, but this is, this is Trump land. This is what happens. Also, I mean, it's worth noting that the Department of Education in the United States, it doesn't deal with the curriculum. That's always been set by the states. So what it does is it deals with essentially federal grants, funding, student loans, those kind of things. There's been some real concern about the impact that this is going to have because a lot of the loans go to poorer students. So essentially that is going to remain, but with half of the staff to administer it. That's what we understand is going to happen.
I mean, it doesn't sound like the Department for Education does a lot. I'm kind of nervously saying that because the way you explain it and the way he's been explaining it away is that it doesn't do an awful lot. Yet it's huge, isn't it? It was established by Congress, wasn't it? And so presumably Trump will need Congress's approval to be able to enact the executive order.
Right, and not just their approval. They actually need to get 60 of the senators to sign off on it, and that's not going to happen because the Democrats will not support this. It can't just be a majority; it needs to be 60 of the senators. So I think that's probably why the White House press secretary was backtracking slightly on this, saying, no, we're not going to totally get rid of it, even though Trump keeps on using the word eliminate. She says we're not going to totally get rid of it, we're just going to massively slim it down, and that's something that they can do without having Congress signing off on it.
And he's saying things like we have to get our kids educated. Other countries rank high in education, specifically China and the US could too. So presumably he's sort of taking away all the cost of bureaucracy, and then hopefully ploughing that back into education?
Yeah, that's the theory. And actually, this isn't something that's new. I mean, Republicans for years and years have wanted to get rid of the Department of Education because they see that there's been too much bureaucracy and that the money is not being spent efficiently. Critics, of course, would say that actually all they're trying to do is take money away from poor students and to push parents towards privatized education, which they say is not the way to go. So there's going to be plenty of fights ahead, plenty of legal challenges, and certainly most people feel that the actual abolition of the Department of Education is not going to happen.
Let's talk the latest on Ukraine. So there was a phone call between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky the other night, as we know, and in it was suggested that the US could take control of power plants in Ukraine, nuclear power plants specifically. And Zelensky's sort of come out and confirmed that it was that they were just talking about the Zaporizhia power plant, so one specifically, and that they were having discussions about the US sort of supporting that power plant, not taking it over, looking towards the future, investing in it, but not sort of taking the whole thing over. I wonder whether there's been any word on that. In fact, we've got that clip. Let's just hear from, this is President Zelensky, Volodymyr Zelensky, speaking today with clarification about that power plant.
Mr. President Trump asked me, what do you think about this station? I told him that if it does not belong to Ukraine, it will not work for anybody. And it is a state-owned enterprise. If Americans think that how to find the solution from this situation and they want to take the station from the Russians and they want to invest there to modernize it, that is a completely different issue. We are open to discuss it, but the issue of property, we definitely did not discuss with Mr. President Trump.
That was President Zelensky, voiced by a translator, obviously, speaking about that. Has there been any word back from Donald Trump or indeed anyone else in the United States about this disconnect between what Donald Trump and the US administration say happened in the telephone call and what President Zelensky says is his version of events?
No, and I think we're very unlikely to get a sort of blow-by-blow account of that disconnect, Kate, as you so elegantly put it. It's all in the nuance, isn't it? Trump has come out of these meetings, both with Zelensky, the phone call with Zelensky, the phone call with Putin. He's put very positive spin on it. He said just a couple of minutes ago in this press conference we were talking about that he feels that huge progress has been made and that they are about to sign a deal over these rare earth minerals, these rare earths, and he feels that things are really moving in the right direction and an agreement is about to be signed. But actually, when you read what the Kremlin is saying, what Zelensky is saying, you think it's not as easy as Trump would like people to believe. So Zelensky is saying, sure, if you want to talk to us about helping us reform the Zaporizhia power plant, absolutely, we're all ears. But actually handing it over to you, no, that's not something that was discussed.
And they appeared to have put that minerals deal to one side. Caroline Levitt was asked about that in the last couple of days, and she was just like, we're sort of parking that for now. She didn't say that specifically, but it very much gave the impression that they were parking that and they were now talking about supporting Ukraine in their power facilities, and that would also act as something of a security guarantee if the US has interest in power facilities. But of course, it depends how far that interest extends, what that actually means, as we've been talking about. Let's speak about Donald Trump's 60 days in. It is 60 days since the inauguration. And I just wonder, I mean, obviously, we've been keeping across Donald Trump and his activities, his frenzied activities. He's got a lot done, to be fair, in his first 60 days. But what we haven't talked about so far on this show, Harriet, is his polling. How is Donald Trump doing in the eyes of the American public?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, Kate. I mean, it's obviously been a whirlwind, hasn't it, for all of us just to try and keep up with everything that's going on. He's signed 90 executive orders in this first 60 days, which is unprecedented. I mean, by a long margin. But actually, Americans are giving him much higher approval ratings this time around than in his first term. They feel that that he's actually doing an awful lot of what he campaigned on, that they like this energy that he's bringing to the government. Of course, if you remember that, the last period of Joe Biden's administration was pretty lackluster, not helped by Biden himself, for sure. So, he's doing better in the eyes of Americans. I mean, it's interesting, of course, it's all in the interpretation, isn't it, these approval ratings, because Fox News says that Trump is on a record high, which means that his approval ratings are the highest that he's ever had. But actually, no other president has had as low approval ratings at this time in his presidency, apart from Trump himself.
Okay, understood. And finally, a number of public cases are being reported on by the media where foreign nationals from countries such as Canada and the UK are being arbitrarily detained by the US immigration enforcement agents, ICE, as they're known. Give us some information on that. Is that playing into poor approval of Donald Trump, or is this just a signal of what is to come?
I mean, there's so much information at the moment about immigration, about migration, about what they're doing with the ICE detentions. This is just an element of it. I mean, it's obviously very alarming internationally. Domestically, it's not getting a huge amount of attention. What is in particular catching the eye is the detention of a student, Mahmoud Khalil, who was at Columbia University in New York. He was leading pro-Palestine protests against the war in Gaza, and he was detained by ICE agents at his home, and he's got a green card. He's currently being held in Louisiana, of all places. They shipped him off there. There's several German nationals who've been detained at the airport, a French scientist who was stopped at the airport because he had some messages that were unsupportive of Trump. So, there's a growing drumbeat of this. Is it affecting his approval ratings? There's so much going on, it's really hard to work out what in particular is getting attention. But certainly Trump's fans would say, he's doing what he set out to do, and he is clamping down on people, as the White House say, who are acting against US interests.